Hey guys, Tepcocyclerepair. I'm here again with this Beta 500RR. I'm going to be doing a couple cool add-ons to this, the LED turn signals, and I'm also making a fender eliminator kit for the rear of this. It's pretty simple. Just take a couple measurements, drill a couple holes. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let's get started. Let's pull this headlight off. All right, so on these Betas, it's pretty simple. It has some pegs in the bottom with the headlights into all the way down there, and then you got these rubber tabs. You just pull the rubber tabs off on both sides, and the headlight just kind of pulls out. Just pay attention to the rubbers here. They're going to be rubbing on some other wires and stuff. So just work those out gently. Pull it off the pegs in the bottom. And you got the brake line that goes through the little holder right here. Make sure the line is out of the guide. There's a little slot in the back of it so you can get it out. And headlight is off. Got to unplug the turn signals and everything. We'll be able to build this whole turn signal and headlight assembly on the bench after we unplug everything. So let's do that. All right, guys, so this is what we got, the back side of it here. We're going to be removing all this stuff right here, these turn signals. We got new sick-ass turn signals here, LEDs. We also have the Baja Design LED headlight that's going to go on. Pretty easy, it just has a couple screws in there. So we're going to change that out. It also comes with the wire harness, so you can plug it straight into their light and straight into your regular harness. So we're good to go there as well. One thing we're going to have to do is change the LED flasher. So we have an LED flasher for that, and I'm also going to be changing the rear LEDs. So let's get started with taking this apart. And the fender eliminator, we're going to take this whole thing off here, put turn signals here on both sides. All right, so underneath here we got 8mm there, and we got some 8mm there, and the whole thing should come off. That's it. And you can see this is the problem with the huge fender. This one was already yanked out of here, and it goes into a mount that's underneath. If you can be able to see that. All right, so there's a mount right there. This is already yanked out of here, so that's why these don't work. So let's get everything out. All right, so when you drop this rear fender here, you're going to have the 2 turn signals and the license plate light plug here. All right, so now with the fender off, we're going to deal with the turn signals. Go mount right up here. And we're not going to be using the light for the license plate, so I'm just going to take that and stick it back up in between this fender and the main fender. All right, and those mounted in there. This thing is solid. It's not going anywhere. I'm going to put the plate on now. All right, so these rear blinkers, they come with a little backing plate. So I just held it up where I wanted it. This actually tucks underneath the fender right there. All right, and I punched 3 holes with my automatic center punch to drill, and I'll drill little holes for the mounting hardware. All right, and the directions are pretty easy. Just use the backing rubber plate like I showed you guys, and you use a 7/32 drill bit for the mounting hole, and then a 5/16 bit for the wires. All right, they're going to be close together, so make sure you don't connect the 2 holes with the drill bits. And this is the only hardware that it comes with, is these 2 screws and 2 washers, and they go into the back side. You can see the threaded part right there of the turn signal. And when you're done with the holes, make sure you get behind it and clean it up with a razor blade to get all the extra plastic off the back side, because the screws are just barely long enough to reach the turn signals. All right, so it's going to be looking like that. Now if we look at our wires, it gives us, they give us a ton of wire here. And we only need to make it to right there. So I'm just going to measure these and cut them and solder the new ends on that come in the kit. All right, guys, so solder these on. Don't use the little pinch clamps on there because they'll just pull out. Make sure you solder them on. All right, so there's one done, tucked in nice. Looking good. Let's get the other one done. Connections all looking good there. All right, guys, looking a lot better. And for the wires underneath, I just zip tied them up there. I just melted a little hole in the side of the tabs and put a zip tie to hold everything up nice and neat. So we're looking good. Tail end is complete. All right, guys, so putting these front turn signals on, we're going to have to make the hole a little bit bigger so that this fits in here. Now, I have all the spacers on that they offer. You can't really put any more on. You'll have no room for the threads. But it doesn't quite stick out far enough as far as I would like. It still is going to be a little bit just barely hidden behind that. And here, I'm not sure if I'm going to grab enough threads there, so we might have to do something with these spacers. There's 2 other spacers a little bit thinner than this. I'll probably run those. And then we're going to cut these wires shorter because these wires are extremely long. All right, so I'm going to go with the 2 medium ones. The 2 medium ones put it right like that. It's just hidden a hair. But other than that, if I go further out, I don't have enough bite with the threads. And if I go further in, most of the light is going to be blocked off. So this is about the best that's going to happen, just like that. So let me get the other side drilled, and the hole that I drilled it to is just one size bigger, which is 3/8. And when you put the 3/8 hole in there, this fits in there. I mean, you can see how tight it is now. It's pretty much screwed into the plastic, and then I'll just spin the other two nuts on there. I'm going to get and shorten these wires to a reasonable length because these are just crazy long. So I'm just going to cut them and solder them back together and leave the ends that they have on here because these are the right size ends. So I'm going to cut a good amount of this wire off, probably this much, and then just solder those back on there. So I'm going to do that with both of them. All right, so shortening the wires here, I cut them to the length I want. I twist them together like I showed in another video, and then I solder them. These are not coming apart. Then I'll throw this heat shrink on right here, and then when I get them both done, I'll slide this heat shrink over the connection, and they'll be nice and secure and watertight, and we won't have any problems. All right, so that's how they are mounted up. It's best they're going to get it. You're not really blocking any of the actual LEDs in there, just a little bit of the amber lens, so I think we're good to go there. It's not a problem. All right, let's put the LED headlight back in until I get the other one straightened out. All right, and the last thing we're doing on here is going to be these levers. We got the flow levers. These are the clutch and the front brake lever, and this is for the clutch is the CL728. Pretty straightforward here. It comes with the bolt to mount it up, and it also comes with a kind of protector because we won't be using that rubber protector that's on there. So let's get the old one off. All right, so nothing really crazy here. We're just going to pull the rubber cover off of it. Just got to flex it around the lever. All right, just like that. All right, then we have our 8mm on the top and bottom. Now remember, the bottom one here is a nut. It's like a locking nut. But if you just try to turn this one, I don't know if you can see that, but the top one is turning as well. So we've got to put an 8mm on that. With everything being hydraulic, it makes the whole process easier because we're not worrying about cables or anything like that. So you want to take the bottom one out first. Now some of them, in this beta, it's just going to slide out. Some of them thread into the bottom here too, so you'll have to unscrew this one, but this just comes out. The spring in here, so don't lose the spring. I'll show you that. All right, so there's our spring and our plunger right there. And that's not really, I'm sorry, it's not a plunger. It's just a spring and a guide, so the spring doesn't fold, and it just sits inside of here. This is our plunger for the brakes here. All right, and so we're taking this whole lever off with the bolt and everything. Just put it back together in case they ever want to use it again. All right, let me get the new one. All right, so I wanted to show you a little bit up close of how these things go together. You have your spacer here. The spacer is going to sit inside the pivot right there. And then you have this washer. Now, these washers are going to go on the outside of this. And if you look at this on the lever, it's like the same width. It looks like the same width as this. Okay, so you're going to have to stretch it over a little bit, but then when you tighten it down, it's fine. And it's important to use this one because this is the Pro 160 lever, and it flexes up and down as well as forward. So you want to make sure that you have the protector on there that can help protect the linkage and everything, and also make it the ability for the lever to swing up and down and forward. So we're going to take a little bit of grease, and I like using the Super Lube for all of my levers right here. It works really good. It's clear. So I'm going to put a little bit on that pivot collar, slide it in there, and then I'll show you how to mount it all up. Actually, just a little bit of grease on the collar. All right, just drop that into the lever. Want everything working nice and smooth. Put a little bit in the center where the bolt's going to be. Now remember that spring right there. Be careful, because if you hit that spring, you don't want to go shooting across the room. So take a little bit of grease and put it on the plunger right here as well, because that's going to be brand new inside of there. So I'm going to take a little bit and I'm going to stick it right where the plunger is going to go. Right now we're going to make sure that our spring doesn't get lost and put it into the spot where the spring goes. Plunger into there. Plastic cover over everything. And we're going to drop the bolt with the one washer, with the flange. You can see how it's kind of hat shaped right there. That's going to drop in the top here. If you're trying to hold the spring, the return spring for the lever, the plunger, the cover and everything there. Now we're going to take the bottom one, same thing. We're putting the pressed part here upwards so it fits into that plastic cover, and then we're going to tighten it up. Put them together here. Alright. Make sure everything works properly. Make sure that it's able to get full swing in here. Because these have, you know, with the lever being able to go up and down with these and forward, there's pieces in here that can touch your control. So we're going to have to make sure that this fully disengages here because it's actually hitting the housing. But we'll get it together. Now, there we go. Alright, so that's where it needs to be. Now we're touching the bar. Make sure you're touching the bar. See, it was swinging and hitting the housing. So what I'm going to do here is get this level, make sure it hits the bar, and that's where I'm going to tighten everything down. Because that's where that has to be. So you've got to pay attention to these things because what will happen is if you don't, you'll have problems shifting it into gear, and it'll be like the clutch is out, and it'll lurch forward, lunge forward. There we go. Much better. Okay. So that's it, guys. That's installed now. Let's move over to the other side. I also have the front brake one to put on, so we're going to do that one next. All right, guys. So essentially the same thing here. The only difference with the front brake side is that there is a spring that comes in the kit. So look, the mounts are the same as the other side with the collar, and then it comes with a small spring as well. So they want you to use their spring with this perch. This is a Nissan perch. But the cap and everything is the same. Right, the flow cap. Here's the lever. This is a nice shorty lever, 2-finger. Awesome. And these things are like crazy fully adjustable too. There's all kinds of adjustments. I'm not going to get into all that, but the adjustment inside of there. It comes with an Allen key for that. You also have an adjustment here for how far you want the lever out. Just a whole bunch of adjustments. All right, so these are 10 millimeters on the brake side. See, on this side here, you have what I was talking about on the other side, where you have to unscrew this because it screws in first. And that'll be different the way that we put it back on. All right, so the OEM bolt has the collar attached to it. And remember, there's a spring right here, so we're not going to let that go shooting anywhere. So take it off slowly. All right, and we're going to take that spring with it. So I'm going to take our new spring and I'm going to put a little bit of grease on it just so it stays where it needs to stay right there. It doesn't fall out while we're messing with it. All right, so that's there. We're going to take our bolt, and this bolt here has the collar attached to it. Same thing, a little bit of grease on there. That super lube that I like. And now the same balancing act with all this, except this is going to screw in this time, okay? So now we're going to take the lever. Into the hole where the spring is. There we go. Put a tad of grease on the contact here. There's a roller on this lever. Let me show you that. And here is a roller here just for smooth actuation, I guess. Pretty nice. I like that too. Just some grease on it here. Grease on the contact point in there. Put everything. Okay, now we're going to work to get that collar in. And the way this works on this side is you're going to screw this in all the way first. Don't strip it. And then we're going to take your washer here, put it on the bottom. And the new nut that comes with the lever, put that on. I'm just going to hold the top side because I don't want it to unscrew and then tighten the bottom. Alright, good. Again, make sure everything works good. I like it a little bit further out. I don't know if he does, but we'll try to make it feel the same way that it did before. There we go. Alright. Flow levers are on. Alright guys, so that was a fun job. Did a couple things to this bike that I think are going to improve things. So let's go over what we did. Alright, so we did the thermostat delete right inside of there. We did our these flow levers. Alright, brake, clutch. We did our LED turn signals. The headlight, we're going to still do that one, and also the flasher. The flasher I had was the wrong one, and the headlight was the wrong one. It was for the newer year model. So when he gets the headlight and the flasher, I'll throw those in. That's just going to be a couple-minute job. So there's our LED turn signals in the front. And in the rear, we made the plate for the mount so we can mount the license plate, and also the LED turn signals in the rear. And I think this bike is ready to rip. Those are some good add-ons into this bike. I think it's going to do really well. I think the levers are going to feel awesome. It's going to improve your ride. So guys, hopefully you like this video. These are just a couple of things. These betas are really awesome bikes. So enjoy them if you have them. Get a couple add-on things that, you know, building these bikes up is all what you like and the comfort that you're looking for, and your riding position and everything is built to you. So make sure that you get what you like. But guys, that is it for this one. I hope you liked it. Please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for further notifications, and until next time, it's Tepcocyclerepair.